screen visible? I have hurriedly yesterday told you regarding how to install, but let us start it afresh. Basically, I'll be dealing with installation and basic ideally first of all. Now, whenever you will be starting, you need to go to python.org. You will get such an interface, okay, and then you can click on download. Then you will be getting the current latest version, whatever it is having. You can click on that, and simply you can click on download button. It will be getting downloaded, and after getting downloaded, you can simply start installing this and install for all user or install only for me according to your operating system. It will ask, click next, then again next, again next. So it will be getting installed. There is nothing like a trick over there. Okay. So basically Python is a high level interpreted general purpose and dynamic programming language. And Python is a language which is very easy for coding, okay, as compared to C, C++ or Java. Whatever we do with, let us say 10 lines, possibly we can do it with 2 to 3 lines in Python, okay. Now, we say it is a general purpose programming language because a wide variety of programming we can do, like desktop programming or web programming, all those complex scientific programming, numeric application. And apart from that, we can do what data analysis and visualization also using Python. Okay, basically Python we say is a interpreter, not a compiler. Okay, why? What is the difference between an interpreter and compiler? Most of you might be knowing. Interpreter interprets each and every language, each and every line, and then it executes it. Whereas a compiler first, from starting to ending, all the code it reads down and find all the error. If the code is fully error free, then only it will be converting it to, it's a exe file or executable file, and the executable file will be executing. But it is not in that way in Python, because if let us say after first 5 line, let's say the 6th line I'm having error, then first 5 line will be getting executed. Only at 6th line it will be stopping. So basically what we do, we are having a source code. We give it to a compiler. Compiler find its object code, and object code will be given to the executor, and executor will be executing. Whereas in place of a interpreter, we are having a source code. Source code is given to a interpreter, and interpreter simply gets its output. Okay. Basically, this is how generally we run, and all the Python programming we save it with .py source code, and after it gets successfully compiled, we get a file .pyc. Okay. Basically, in general programming language, whatever environment we are having, we say it is IDE, Integrated Development Environment, whereas in Python we say it is IDLE, Integrated Development Learning Environment. Okay, and it is free for distribution. Now, whenever the program got properly installed, then you will be getting these 3 lines. This is the prompt of Python. There is 3 greater than symbols. This is called prompt of Python, and this is known as chevron. Okay, fine. Let us directly go. Okay, now there is one more thing, like whenever we are writing a code in a Python interpreter, there are 2 different modes. One is a script mode and another is a interactive mode. Okay, whatever code I'll be writing at the prompt, I'll say it is a interactive mode of writing, and the next one, whatever I'll do, yesterday I have shown you, today also we will be doing a lot of program with script mode only. Okay, but then I need to show you the interactive mode is a way of using Python interpreter by typing commands and expression at the prompt. Okay, you know what is a prompt, right? I need not save it. If I want to save it, then I need to have a file. So these, whenever I am using a file, I need to save it in .py extension. So the way I'll be writing a file and executing the file with py extension, then I'll say it is a script mode of writing the code. Okay. So script mode is of using the Python interpreter to read and executing a statement in a script. Okay. So this is basic regarding your Python. Let us come to Python editor, what it looks like. Okay. And right now we'll be discussing about Python editor. Okay. Now, whenever a Python is fully executed or fully properly installed, you can see in your menu bar, you will be getting these kind of symbols. Okay. One is with black, one is with white. Okay. Whenever we will be clicking the black symbol, it will look like this. 3 greater than symbols will be there. And on the top, your copyright and your version, etc. will be written over there, but there is no menu bar. But you can do whatever is possible. I mean, you can type everything, whatever is, I mean, you wanted to, like if I type 6 into 9, 54, it got immediately. Okay, from this also you can get a impression that it is an interpreter, because after first line itself, it got the output. Okay. The second one is a white kind of background. Okay. The Python IDE, it is written. And if you click this one, you will get such kind of an window. And here you see all the things, whatever you were seeing with earlier Python 7, I mean, with earlier window with a black kind of screen. This will be a white screen, and that same 3 greater than symbol will be there. This is called what? This is the prompt. What is the name of the prompt? What is the name of the prompt? This is called chevron. Okay. Now, apart from that, you are having the menu items. You are having the menu items. Okay. So, like any other programming language, you will be having file, edit, shell, and all those things. Yesterday, I have shown you. Okay. The same thing, you type it here and you get the result immediately, right? Now, if you want to write a program in Python ideally, then what you can do, you can write a equal to 10, b equal to 12, let us say c equal to a into b, and if you want to write print c, it will be immediately printing. All the values are saved now. So whenever I'll be using variable a, it will be the value of a will be 10. It will be keep on saving it, keep on remembering it. Okay. And this is what I can say. This mode is interactive mode of writing programming. Okay, interactive mode of writing programming. Now let me tell you what is shell mode of writing programming. Okay, with Python. Now you are having the file here. In file, when you click file, you will be having all these options. Yesterday I have shown you, right? So you can change everything, the background and all those things if you wanted to do. Okay. You can very well do all those things, right? Now let us start writing programming, okay, with Python. Now I wanted to know one thing before I start, because the time is, let us say today 2 hours and tomorrow 2 hours. I may not be able to write each and every program in details. But what if I keep on writing the program in the Python IDE, maybe it will take a lot of time. Okay. So instead of that, what I have done, I have written the code in the PPT itself, and I am showing the execution also. If you want for few of the programs, I'll be writing it in the IDE and I'll show you. Okay. Just let me know if you want that also, okay? Now, the next topic that we are going to start with, how to write our first Python program, okay? Now, as you have seen here earlier, this way of writing code is called what? When I'm writing at the prompt, the code, whatever code I'm writing at the prompt, what it is called? This is called interactive way of writing the Python program. Okay, this is also one more way of writing the program. So always you can see from both the program, print is the statement I can take to get the output. Okay, here a variable C I passed simply with, as Python is case sensitive, so you must be careful while typing. Okay, I passed here C, I got the output. If I'm having a string with hello, then and I'm printing it as my string, hello will be printed. If the string is anything else, look, one more thing, under Python, there is one more beautiful thing, that a string either you can write with double quote or you can write with single quote, but the thing is same. It will be treated as a string. Here you can see hello got a string and it got printed similarly with double quote. But this, how are you, something I have written here with single quote, that is also got printed. So there is no issue at all while printing. Similarly, if let us say 2 or 3 parameters I want to print, let us say I will be separating them with the help of a comma. Already you are having some idea with any kind of programming language, it is the same. Okay, I can print a string here, then a integer, then a a real or floating point data, then again another string. So all of them are different kind of data, and to separate them, I kept a comma in between. So all of them got printed. So print statement remained the same. Either you are passing a variable or you are passing a constant, you are passing a string. It depends on the situation how you are going to print it. Okay. Now all the value whatever I have. Yes.
Sir, Nishu here, sir.
Yes,
sir,
yes.
I request one thing. If the starting programs, like the first program, you have written this first one, a equal to 10, then my string. Sir, initially, not for all, but for some of them, say the first 2, 3, 4 programs,
Okay.
if all the participants, if you allow all the participants to practice the same on their respective laptops, I think that will give them more confidence.
Okay, let them switch on. I'll be waiting for them. Somebody can text it. Somebody can text it out whether they are whether they are interested to do it along with me, or they will be doing it later on. I don't mind.
Sir, not for all, sir. Just for some.
Okay.
That will give all of us, including myself, a lot of confidence.
Okay, no issue. No issue.
So I believe all the participants will find it comfortable. If you are trying it out on your respective systems, obviously you need to have a laptop or your system for this. So some of the programs you can try it out so that at least you know how things work, because seeing a code won't make us learn anything, sir. So let us try for some time. 1 program, 2 programs, 3 programs. That's all, sir. Then you can move on with your own pace.
Okay. Whatever is there in the screen itself, you try it. No
yes,
issue.
yes, sir. And we can use the chat box once most of us have completed, because I'm not sure how many of us will be trying, but at least 50% of the people will definitely be trying. So, sir, please give us 5 minutes. Let us do it in the chat box. We can share if anyone has completed or anyone is still doing. Accordingly, we can move, sir.
Nishu, sir, because the whole screen I'm using it. So that's why any kind of message is there, no, you kindly read it out for me.
Sir, I will handle that, sir. You just leave this screen as it is.
Okay. Is it all right?
Yes, sir. 2 of the participants have already executed, but I need some more time.
Okay, take it.
Yes, sir. Working fine, sir. And many of the participants are replying. So
Okay,
I
great.
request all the participants who can hear me, you can please share your doubts or anything that you have, because I know Professor Rakesh Naik sir as one of the best person I have seen in Python till now. So any code, sir, please share with the audience the different color codes also. Like print is a keyword, so it is in different color. Rakesh sir, am I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah.
So like hello is coming in different color, print is coming in different color, and the output is coming in blue color. So what is the significance of these colors?
Actually, yeah, actually whatever strings are there, constants are there, let us say the print is a keyword, right? So this keyword will be, oh, so is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it is a keyword. So all the keywords will be in violet color. Okay, the variables will be in black, and the constants will be in black, and then you will be having this thing like the string constants will be in green color. So in the editor itself, if you want to choose your own color, also it is possible to choose your own color. Okay. You can make changes to the color of your choice. So can we go ahead?
Is anyone still working, or shall we move ahead? So the concerned participant can unmute and say it out, or else we'll move ahead.
I think the simplest program, most of them may be knowing it. So that's why there is no doubts on this.
Sir, most of the participants are saying we can go ahead.
Okay, fine. So now this is whatever we have typed right now. If I want to, after 10 lines here also, if I'll go and want to print my str, then obviously it will print me hello. Okay, so it will remember everything whatever you are saying. Fine. So it will not forget. Okay, but then if I want to make them to forget, if I want to assign some other value for my str, then what I have to do? I can come to cell and then restart my cell. Okay, so my hello str will be changed. I mean, if I want to print my str, it will not be able to print anything. Okay, so because the variable will be gone, because the data will be gone. Okay, I mean it will forget whatever it has remembered. Okay, so you can start restart cell, and you can see that all those things whatever we have typed to the variables are no more existing. Now come to script mode. Okay, what is script mode? Basically, you come to your file and then click on new. So you will get one more window like this. And here you can type whatever you have typed already in in your interactive mode. Just I'm waiting for you. This is a small program. If you can do it, then rest of the program you will be able to doing it. You will be doing it.
Okay, sir.
So again, I am repeating what you are going to do. In your Python IDLE, you click on your file, and file, the first one is new. And in this new, you click on new, a separate window will be opening. There you will need to type. Hello?
Yes, sir, we are there. Sir, okay. One participant has raised one question. Does interactive mode and script modes exist in other IDs like Jupyter also?
No. Because Jupyter, any other programming, I mean, that itself is an editor by itself. Okay. In script mode or in Jupyter, what happens? It is an inbuilt kind of thing. If you want to execute a single line, you can execute. If you want to have a 4 or 5 line as a program code you can execute. Okay, but I mean, whatever you are writing in Jupyter, you will be all those programs will become a single file, single you can save it in a single file. Okay, and you need to open kind of what you say in a particular web page. It will be saved in the form of the web page. But when I'm using its inbuilt editor, it will not be like that. Okay, so I hope I have answered it. Nisu sir?
Sir, I'm there. I have requested the participants that they may unmute themselves and ask doubts directly, because you are not following the chat box.
Yeah. I'm just following this one.
Hello.
Yes.
So can you again explain the script mode, how it is working?
No, your voice is breaking. Just ask once more.
I'm asking how the script mode is working actually. Can you again explain?
Okay. Now, in earlier thing, what I have shown you in your any whether you have downloaded this ideally whatever I have told, or you have downloaded something else. Just let me know.
I have downloaded Python 3.8.
Okay, good. I'm also having 3.8. So whenever you are starting, you can see these 3 lines, no?
Yeah. Yes,
so all these things you can do, right? So this is an interactive mode. Line by line, it will be getting executed. Okay.
Yes,
whenever you write a print statement, it will be getting printed. Okay. But in this state, let us say in my string statement, if some kind of error is there, it will show me an error and it will not go to the second statement. Okay. This greater than symbol will not come if an error will come. Okay. So each and every individual line, it will be taking, it will be executing. But when I'm taking this script mode, I don't bother about the error right now. Okay. Whenever I'll be executing, it will be showing me in which line the errors are there. So first of all, like any programming language, I'll be keep on typing the program. And after typing everything, when I'll be running, look at there is a run menu here. When I'll be running, I'll get first error. If that error is completed, let us say I'm having error in the second line, then first line will be executed. If first line is a print statement, then first line will be executing. It will show me error for the second line. Maybe afterwards there may be 3-4 errors. I don't bother. But the first error it will be reporting. Now you have corrected the first error. Then when you will be executing, if at all any other errors are there, the next immediate error it will show. Okay. Python works in that way. Line by line it will be interpreting and it will be showing the output. You will see afterwards in a few time. Okay.
Okay, sir. It's understood.
Okay. Now you could able to run this. Now you have not yet run this. You have already written the program, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. After writing the program, you can save it. How you'll be saving it? You will be saving by in the menu. You will be having save. Okay. And in what you will be doing, you will be saving this, and you will be a window will be opening, and you need to save it with .py. Actually, if you will give only the file name, it will automatically take .py extension. Okay. Now save the program with that particular with automatically it will take py extension, and next is about execution. Now this is the program. Now let us say first program I have saved in mul.py. Okay, my first program I have written as multiplication. So I have written my program as my mul.py. You can see whatever program you have written, the total path is written with the file name and extension. Okay, and the version also it will write. Okay, now if I'll go to run or I can press F5, it will go to the ideally that earlier I was having. In that itself, it will show me the program. It will show me the output.
Yes, sir.
Can you check it?
Yes, sir. It is showing, sir.
Isn't it? So,
yes,
so whatever program you are writing in the script mode, it will come back to show in your, ideally the cell, this is called the shell, Python shell. Okay, it will be showing the result in the shell, but it is not like in like Jupyter Notebook or some other different IDLEs. Whatever are present over here, IDE is present. It will be executing and showing in a different window in the same area itself. It will not go to a different, altogether different shell. Okay, shell is inbuilt there. So you can have it like that. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now if you want to make any changes to this earlier program, then every time it will be asking you for save. Okay. Now you try this one, make some changes to your program and try to execute it. It will ask you to save the program. Okay. Whenever you are saving the program, you can avoid it. How you can avoid it? You can go to IDLEs, you can go to your IDLEs setting, and in general, you make it with no prompt. Okay. You can go to your IDLEs setting general, and in that, you click it on no prompt. So by clicking on no prompt, it will never ever ask you for any, before executing, it will never ask you for save. Okay. So next time whenever we will be, so in order to open an existing program, you can start open and you can select the file and you can start doing, opening the file. Okay. Let me take you to how the interaction will be there with Python. How you can start interacting with Python. Okay. Interacting with once, input and output. Okay. Interaction means input and output. So basic input statements will be like this. The input statement will be input, then within bracket you can write whatever string you want to prompt. So whenever you will be executing, this prompt will be first appearing and a cursor will be blinking out there. You can write your input out there. Okay. So let us say I have given input 23. So this value 23 is saved in A, variable A. Okay. The value 23 is saved in the variable A. Similarly, if I am writing here name equal to enter your name, age equal to enter your age, and if I want to print it, your UR name is printed, then age, and age is, I kept a plus and the age is written. Now, earlier I have told you that whatever parameters you are passing, you're supposed to be separated by comma. But I have not kept here comma. I kept here plus. Can you say why? Can anybody unmute and say why?
It's a concatenation, sir.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So basically what the input in Python will always be taken as string. So Ram is also a string. It is added to, it is concatenated to UR. Then this string is now, this 23 is now again a string, and this is now added to the string. So all together become a single string with plus operation. Okay. Whenever there is different type of variables, like some are integers, some are real numbers, some are string. At that point you will be putting a comma in between to separate them out with different categories, and you can print it. Now you can see here input number 1 and input number 2. I am writing a sum of number 1 and number 2. Can you say, let us say number 1 equal to 5 and number 2 equal to 3? Number 1 I have inputted as 5 and number 2 as 3. What will be the sum printed over there? What will be the output that I will be getting? Please unmute and say it, no issue. Number 1 is 5, number 2 is 3. What will be its output?
8, sir.
Here is small error here. The last print statement, I forgot a comma here. Okay, there is supposed to be a comma. 8, 5 plus 3, 8? No. How it come? Number 1 is 5, number 2 is 8, and the sum is 58. How it became? Can anybody say me? Just because in the previous slide itself I told you.
It treated as a string.
Yeah. Nice. It treated as whatever input value you are taking simply like this. It is a string only. Number one, 5 is a string. Number 2, 8 is a string. So if I am doing concatenation, it's supposed to show 5, then 8. It becomes 58. Okay. Because here we are using a plus operation. Okay. So if I want to do this, what will be the output? Number 1 is 5, number 2 is 8. What will be the output here? Please speak. No issue. If you will be participating, no, instead of typing, obviously you will be learning more than anything. Anyhow, we are trying to give you the video of this. Later on, you can try it out. No issue. But if you will involve yourself in this particular interactive kind of learning Python, you will be learning more. Some of you can say what will be the output. N1, let us say number 1 is 15, number 2 is 3. Whether sum will give me 5?
Yes, sir. 5, sir.
No. And now only you told that these two are strings. Number 1 and number 2 are strings, and strings divisions are not possible at all. So it will give you an error. Look, now as I told you, the first 2 statements are correct, syntactically correct. So that's why the first 2 statements, it didn't give any kind of error. When it came to the third statement, number 1 division number 2, and division is unsupported. Look, what is the error it is showing? Type error, unsupported operand type division, str and str. Number 1 is a string, number 2 is a string, and division operation doesn't exist with the string data type, right? So now tell me, if I'm putting here, I did a typecasting here. Whatever I'm putting it, I'm changing it to integer. Okay, the second one is also a integer. Now I'm taking number 1 and number 2, 5 and 8. What will the output? Obviously, it will be giving me the sum of these two. Yeah, it will be giving me the sum of these two, that is 13. Okay, because whatever string I'm inputting with this part, input, enter number 1, this part will give me a string, and the string I have converted to a integer when I'm typecasting a integer data type. So that's whatever value 5 will become a integer 5 when I'm typecasting integer. Okay. Similarly, 8 becomes an integer, and 2 integers when I'm summing, it will be a sum of 2 numbers. So 13 will be printed. Fine. So there is one more data type of kind of thing. One more construct is there, that is called eval. So it will treat whatever kind of data you are supplying, that will be converted to the required data type. Now let us see here. I am writing here integer input, the first integer. So x is supposed to be an integer, and I am printing x. Okay. Similarly, I am taking float. So whatever I am typing over here, okay, the x becomes a float data type. Now you see, my integer is 5 becomes an integer, and float becomes 5.0. But specifically, I need to say that this is a float and this is an integer. And if I'm typing 5, it is converting it to 5.0 because the typecasting is float. Okay. Now, when I'm using a eval function, you see here, x in front of this input, whatever constructs I'm having, before that, like a integer typecasting, I'm writing here eval. Now you see here, look at this data type. Now I kept here 5. So whatever data type I'm having, it is an integer data type. You see, And if I am typing here 5.5, I have never did a typecasting for float or typecasting for integer specifically. But here I have done what? Eval function. So when I gave the input 5.5, it automatically converted it to a float data type. So by looking at the input data, it will be converting it to the respective data type. Okay. Here, if I'll put here, instead of the first one, if I'll put only 5 dot also, then it will be a float. It will never be an integer. Okay. So the eval function will be executing in this way. So eval function type is one more thing that I can get input, more number of input at the same time, which is separated by comma. So I can write, let us say, x comma y, eval of input to integer separated by comma. Then I got, let us say, 12 and 4.9. And the sum to, like in, it is not, I think it is not available in any other programming language that I can get input, more than one input for the same statement, in the same statement. Okay, for more than one variable. So here I got two variables, x got 12 and y got 4.9, and the sum I got 16.9. Okay, now let us take a little bit deeper into the output statements. Okay, now if I hope all of you having little knowledge about C programming language. In C programming language, I am having \n I use for what? For new line, right? If I am putting a \n between this string constant in a print statement, I can write all those things in a separate line. So observe what we are having. The keyword print supposed to be there. A open parenthesis I'm having. Then I'm having a quotation mark starting. Then I'm having whatever I wanted to print. Then quotation mark and closing parenthesis. This is the basic syntax I'll be having for any output statement. If I'm using a \n in between, then up to Python, up to the first statement, up to Python and a blank, I'll be having one first line, and \n will be treated as a new line, and the rest of the thing will be getting printed. Okay. For that, similarly, I'll be having \n, \t, apostrophes if I want to give. Within the statement, if I want to write a double quote, within the statement, if I want to print \. So it's supposed to be like this. If I'm putting a \n in between, it's supposed to print me a new line. If I'm putting a \t, it will supposed to print me a tab. If let us say I am writing I am, so it means what? Under double quote, under a pair of double quote, again a pair of single quotes are coming. If I am not putting \, single quote, then what will happen? Within double quote, a pair of single quote will be coming. As I told you that any statement, any string, either in Python will be taken within double quote or within single quote. Now, if I am not putting in the \, then we are within double quote, there is a pair of single quotes. So the interpreter will be getting confused what it is, and it will be throwing a error. So that's why in order to say that I want to print intentionally a single quote, I need to print a \. Similarly, if I want to write within, I want to print a \, I want to print double quote, then I'll be giving a \. Before it. If I want to print a \. itself, before it itself, I need to print, I need to type a \. You can see here, whenever I am putting a \n, then a new line is printed. For \t, after Python, a tab is given. Now here I am is there. So I have written here this apostrophes. It will be written as apostrophes. Now you can see here Python under double quote if I want to write. So this \, double quote will print me double quote. Okay. Similarly, if I want to print a slash over here, I'll be printing a 2 slashes for this. Okay. Now, if I'm putting a comma in between, so the output also will be giving a comma. Okay. Similarly, if I'm putting several strings in between also, there is no problem, that all the things will be kept earlier I told you that all the parameters can be separated by comma, or if all of them are strings, I can use plus. But when I am using plus, there will be no space in between. Okay, it will be concatenating each and every strings. But if I am putting comma, obviously I'll get a blank space in between. Okay, so after I and M for learning Python, I got a space here. But if I'll put plus, then M and learning will be merged into one into a single word. Okay, so this is the importance of a comma here. Okay, now there are two more important keywords with print. That is, one is end and another is sep. Let us see what is that. Now, whenever I'm printing this two statements, there is no problem. Simple statements are there. But so the print also doesn't matter. Like after first statement, the second statement got printed. Okay, as usual. There is no, so, but let us say the strings are a little bit longer and I want to, I cannot write both the print statement in one line, but in the output, I want to print them in a single line. In the output, I want to print them in a single line. Then how can I help? For that, I'll write the end equal to double quote. When I'm writing end equal to double quote, both the string will be combined to one. So look, I am learning Python, and this end is in the second line. Here you see, but when I'm writing end equal to double quote, so the new line will be replaced by no space something, and it is combined with Python and end, and it will be printing like this. So more than one statement, I can combine it to one output. Similarly, if I want to write backslash and also, obviously, it will be printing in a separate line. Now, if I'm, you can see the change here. I am writing here end equal to double quote, so it's supposed to be combined, these two statements. And now for this statement, I am writing end equal to 3 dots. So it got combined for the first statement, and for the second statement, 3 dots or 4 dots are getting printed here. Okay. This is, I mean, at the end of the statement, what to do, you are given instruction by using the keyword end. Okay. Similarly, you are having one more keyword that is called sep. Now you see here, whenever there is a comma in a print statement, you are going to replace this comma by some character. This is what is sep is. Now, according to this particular statement, in place of this comma, I want to print a underscore. In place of the commas, I want to replace it with 3 dots. In place of these commas, I don't want to put anything. I'm not putting any gap also. And in place of these comma, I want to print a new line. So look at this output. Whenever there is a comma, a space supposed to generate, but in place of the space, I got a underscore. Here also in place of the comma, I got a underscore. Similarly, in the second statement, in place of this comma, I got 3 dots. After end also, I got 3 dots. Similarly here, as I have not given any space also, you can see here Python and I merged into one statement. And in this statement, there are 2 commas. So up to Python, it will be 1 line. After end, it will be 1 line. So the same statement is written into 3 different lines of output. Okay. So you can combine them. You can combine them, sep equal to end equal to. Look at this output. For this comma, I got sep equal to 3 dots. I got 3 dots. End equal to 3 dots. So in after end also there is a comma. So I got 3 dots. And after this dot, I came to an end. So end, after end, I am writing 3 stars. So this is the output that I'll be generating. Okay. Now one more beautiful thing is that you can format your strings also. Okay, how you are going to show the output. So the format, you need to use the keyword format for that. Let us see one example. Okay, so the basic form is string dot format and the value or the variable that you are going to pass here, or the value can be any data type or including a variable. Let us see an example. Now I am learning. In this place, you kept a curly bracket. This is a placeholder. This is a placeholder. Okay, in place of this, in the format, whatever you are going to write, it will be placed here in between. Okay, I am learning something and I am enjoying it. Dot format Python. It means in this in this curly brackets, the Python will be substituted here. Okay. Similarly, if Python is a string also, I can pass the string. Python, the string is having a value called Python. So in place of this curly bracket, Python is replaced. Okay. It is not just a one, earlier there is only one parameter I am passing. So there is no need of putting 0 or 1 or what. But then if more than one parameter I am passing for this, I need to mention it. Either it is 0 or 1. For 0 means it is the first item in this format and 1 means the second item in the format. It means if I'll write here 1 in place of 0, if I'll write here 1, it will print me I am learning, enjoying, and I am Python it. Okay, in place of 1, if I am writing 0, so the order in the numbers, whichever number you have written, that particular value will be substituted at that particular location. Okay. Now, if I am passing a variable also, Python and enjoy, I can print it accordingly. So there is no problem at all. Okay. Now, the same thing I can write here. I can use this for printing. I can write name equal to input, enter your name. So before asking your age input, I want to prompt his name also. So I'll write 0. Please enter your age. Then I'm writing name and age, and it will be getting printed like enter your name. I got Rama, and then this name contains the variable. Name is a variable which contains data Rama. So Rama will be appearing for curly bracket 0. Then enter your age 23. 23 value is saved in the variable name age. And when I'm writing curly bracket 0 and curly bracket 1, so the order in which it appear name and age, it got substituted. So Rama, you are 23-year-old. It got printed. Okay. Now similarly, you can do a whole lot of formatting with string as well as with numbers. Now let us talk about formatting numbers. So you can have colon D, and you can put a number before this, before D. D represent for integers. Okay. So you can write 08, you can write plus D, you can write minus D. Now look at the values. The 234 is positive here, 234 is negative here. Now you can, by looking at the output, possibly you will be able to realize what is the work of this. When I am writing only colon D, so simply whatever value I am passing, it is printed as it is, no problem. But when I am writing 6D, so it is taking 6 spaces, and from right side it is writing 234. On the left of it, it is giving blank spaces. If I am writing 08 D, then in 8 places, 3 places from right hand side 234 is printed, and before that zeros are substituted. Now when I am writing 234, 234 is a positive number, and if I am writing plus D, plus will be getting printed. And for negative number, if I am writing plus D, the minus symbol of 234 will be getting printed. Similarly, 234, if I am writing minus D, plus value will not be printed, whereas the minus value will be printed. Okay. I hope you understood how I am getting formatting it. Similarly, I can do it with float value also. Okay. And for float, I can put F. So mostly whatever syntax you are having, format strings you are having with C programming language, the same formatting string you can use here. Okay. Now, Now for string, you can have S. Okay. Now you see here colon S Python, and I'm printing a star. After that, I'm giving a new line here. And in this case, I'm writing 20S, and then I'm writing Python. And for Python, to print Python, I want 20 spaces. And after that, I am printing a star. And 8.2S also I have given. I'm printing Python. So look at this output. You will be able to realize what is going to happen. Now, when I'm writing colon S, it means as it is, what is the string, it will be getting printed. And look at the star, it is ending after, it is starting just after N. But when I'm writing 20S, so 20 spaces is given, Python is printed, and at the end of 20 spaces, a star is printed. And when I'm writing 8.2, only 2 character, maximum 8 character I can take, but out of this I want to print first 2 characters. So PY got printed. Okay. So these are the basic symbols that I'm having for different kind of formatting. Okay. Now apart from that, in any programming language, left alignment, right alignment, center alignment, I mean, you are forcing it to plus and minus sign, all those things also you can do. You can see here, now the same 2, 3, 4 I am writing star and then less than 20 space with D. I am writing star greater than, then 20 space with B. I am writing star, then this is caret symbol, and 20 space with B. Equal to, I have written, equal to, I have written. So for this equal to, I have written plus and minus symbol. Rest of them are 2, 3, 4 only. Now you can see here. When I am writing simple 2, 3, 4 with percentage, simple 2, 3, 4 is written here. Okay. Now 2, 3, 4 with the left justification. It means 20 spaces are there, and out of these 20 spaces, 2, 3, 4 will be written on the left of it. Similarly, that this is right justification. So on this particular string, 20 spaces are reserved. On this, on the right of it, 2, 3, 4 are written. And similarly, this is a center justification. So here few spaces, here few spaces. In the center itself, 2, 3, 4 is written. Okay. Now when I am writing equal to, plus is not printed, but 20 spaces are there. After 17 spaces, 2, 3, 4 are printed. When I am writing minus 2, 3, 4, minus is written at the beginning, then 16 spaces of blank, then 3 spaces of 2, 3, 4. It will be printed in that way. Okay. Let me go to the variables. Now, you know what is a variable and what is an identifier. Can somebody tell me before I start, can somebody tell me what is the difference between a variable and an identifier? I'm waiting for your response. Please unmute yourself and tell. It's a very basic question. Please unmute. Am I audible, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay. So nobody is responding. That's why
Yes, sir, yes,
I got confused. Okay. Now, can anybody tell the difference between a variable and an identifier? Variables are not predefined.
So variable is also an identifier, but variables, it is actually the name of some given for a memory location for
Okay.
storing values.
Which one? Which one? Variable or identifier?
Variable, variable.
Variable is a location. Okay.
Name
And what-
given for the location for
Name
storing
given.
a value.
Yeah. And what is identifier?
Identifiers are name given to anything like functions, then classes, etc.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Let us start. Basically, variable is a reserved location in computer memory to store values. Okay. We have not yet stored value. But to store value, in order to store value, we are allocating a memory location. We can store different data types in the memory location. Unlike C, Python automatically reserves memory space for each variable. And what is an identifier? An identifier is a name given to a variable or other entities such as function, object, and so on. The variable and identifier are not the same. The name of the variable is an identifier, but the variable has other properties such as a value, type, scope, and so on. Okay. Now, in a Python environment, all the variable name will start with a alphabet or a underscore. No other symbols are allowed. So when I am writing 2ABC, 2 is not the first character, 2 is not an integer, is not an character. So it is a invalid data type. So because it is starting with numeric. And when I'm saying underscore ABC, underscore is allowed in a variable name to start with. So it is a valid identifier. And here I am kept a comma. Comma is, apostrophe. Apostrophe is not a valid character that I can take for a variable. So it is an invalid. And while is a keyword basically I will be using for that. I cannot take this as an identifier. Okay. And for the rules are identifier are case sensitive and identifier only contain letters, numbers and underscore. Except that nothing else. Identifier cannot start with a number. Identifier cannot be a keyword. So these are the basic rules for given, for a identifier. Now you can see x equal to 5 and y equal to 10. I am writing. So there is no problem as such. But basically, sometime if I'll write a program in that way, tomorrow if I want to open it, what program I have done, then I have to look at the output statement and I need to judge, oh, is a parameter of a rectangle. But if I am writing the variable name, length and breadth and parameter, this is the best way of giving a variable name for easy readability. Okay. For big programs, if you write X, Y and Z, sometime you may be getting confused for what reason I have given this variable name. So in order to avoid that, it is a best practice that you name the purpose you write as variable name. Okay. So don't use this one and use this kind of nomenclature for giving identifier. Basically, we use hash symbol for giving a single line command. And for that also you can use alter 3. You can use alter 3 in your keyboard to use a comment statement. Okay, like here hash symbol is there. So this statement becomes a comment statement and it becomes a non-executable. Now after something I have written, so after hash whatever comes is a comment statement. Okay, I can use comment statement like this. So after hash whatever it comes in this particular line, I need not bother about other lines. Similarly, if I am using triple quotes, I can take a set of statement as comment statement. Okay. So from this line to this line, all of them become comment. Okay. So to uncomment the hash, you used to give comment statement, you use alter 3. To uncomment it, you need to use alter 4. Okay, alter 4 you can use for uncommented. And what are the different variables types you are having? You are having integer, float, complex, string, and different type of, new type of data type that is existing is list, tuples, dictionary, and sets. All these are new kind of data type that is available with Python, that is inbuilt. Okay. Now there is now equal plays a very important role in Python. Okay, equal sign. Equal sign means you are assigning the value to a identifier. Okay, so it means association of an identifier with a variable. Okay. Now, if I am writing x equal to 2, it means x is associated with a memory location which holds the value 2. The meaning is that. Okay. Now, if you are writing print x, it means the sum of this, the multiplication of these two is saved in x, and x I am getting printed here. Okay. And very, beautiful thing in Python for equal to symbol is it can be used for swapping It can be used for swapping. Let us see here this particular small program. X1 equal to 7, X2 equal to 5, X3 equal to 6, and X4 equal to 4. Now, when I'm printing it before assignment, X1, X2, X3, X4, I printed. Okay, no issue. 7, 5, 6, and 4 got printed. Now, using eval, I told you on the left hand side, I can have more than one variable, right? So here I kept X2, X3 equal to X3, X2. It means the value of X2, what was there, it will be saved with X3, and what was I had X3, it will be saved with X2. It means in one single statement, I have changed the value of X2 to X3 and X3 to X2. Okay. So you can see here 7, 5, 6, 4 got printed earlier when I got X1, X2, X3, X4. And when after this statement, when I am assigning, so second value and third value got interchanged. It got interchanged. Okay. But that kind of assignment I can do, exchange or swapping of value I can do with equal to symbol also. Okay. Now let us discuss about some operators. I hope I am not very fast. Am I?
No, sir.
It is okay, no?
No, sir.
Okay. Now we are going to discuss about operators. Now you can see there I am having several operators, right? Arithmetic operator, relational operator, logical operator, increment, decrement, bitwise, and special operators I am having. Let us discuss them one by one. So what are the arithmetic operators I am having? Plus, minus, star, has, exponential, modulo division, and integer division. Here one more division is available, that is integer division. Okay. In other programming language, I don't think integer division is available. We'll see them one after another. Now, if I am writing A equal to 43 and B equal to 3, A plus B I can perform, A minus B I can perform, A star B I can perform, A division or A modulo B I can perform, the remainder become 1, and A integer division B I can perform. What is integer division? If I'll multiply 14 3s are 42. Okay. So I am not interested in any decimal point. Rather, I am only concentrating on the integer part. Okay. So that is integer division. Now, when I am putting a multiplication, a peculiar you can see here, 5 star 3. Both of them are integer. That's why I got the value to be integer. If any of them is a floating point variable, floating point need not follow after anything. After decimal, I may or may not have anything. But if decimal or full stop symbol is there, it is treated as a floating point or real number. So it will be what the result will be a real number only. So either the first operand or the second operand, whatever may be, or both the operands are real, then the result becomes real. Similarly with division, you can say always it will be giving me a real number. 3 by 6 also 0.5 I got, and 6 by 3. 6 by 3 supposed to it's supposed to be integer, but it will always give me a real output or floating point output. Similarly, you can see here what exponential 5 to the power 3, 125. Now either the first operand is a floating point or second operand is a floating point, or both of them are floating point. In all the three cases, the result will become a floating point value. Okay. Now, so this is what I have already written all those things. Okay. Now you see for modulo operation, let us see. A equal to minus 15, B equal to 4. And you see A modulo B is 1. Can you say how? Anybody? Minus 15 divided by 4. How it came as 1? Is it possible that it will be 1? 4 3s are 12, and the remainder are supposed to be 3, kada? but it gave 1. How? Take one more example. A is 15 and B is -4. The remainder is -1. How come remainder become -1? Do anybody having any idea? The peculiar thing you will not see in any other programming language. It is there in in Python. No idea? Okay. Now here see, both of them are minus. Both of them are minus, and result you got again minus. In general arithmetic, whatever you are having, you take let us say division by n you are doing. So the remainder between 0 to n minus 1. Okay. Here if I'm dividing with 4, so the remainder supposed to be 0, 1, 2 or 3. Okay. But here negative also is coming, because the remainder it will take from -3 to 3. How it is, you can see, you can learn it from here. Now, if I'm going in positive direction, so the remainder becomes 1, 2 and 3. But if I'm going in the negative direction, the remainder will become -1, -2 or -3. Okay. You can see both of them are what? Additive identity. Both of them are additive identity. Okay. So if I'm doing 3 minus of -1, it is 4. 2 minus of -2, it becomes 4. And 1 minus of -3, it becomes 4. So, and modulus 4 is always 0. Okay. So when I'm going on the left hand side, okay, when you can see when the remainder when the second operand is negative, you will get always a negative remainder. Okay, irrespective of the first operand. Okay, this is a new thing in Python, that your remainder ranges from -n-1 to n-1, including 0. Okay. Now, the arithmetic operation, that is integer
Excuse me,
division.
sir.
Yes,
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not able to get how -1 is achieved.
Okay. Let me take a calculation. Now, ballpoint. Now let us say 15 I got. Okay, 15 divided by 4 I am doing. Okay, so how much I'll take here? 4 3 ja 12. Okay, and the remainder becomes 3. Done. So this supposed to be the result when both of them are, the first operand and second operand got to be positive, right? Clear now? Respond please. Now I am taking -15 divided by 3 I am taking. Okay. Now tell me what will be the quotient here? Can I take 3? Sorry, this supposed to be it's supposed to be 4. Okay, I am taking 4. Sorry, I am writing it once more. That is 4 minus 15. We have learned it in our childhood days, but we have forgotten. Now, what quotient I'll take here? Can I take 3? 4 3 ja 12 I'll take here. Please respond. Just from your response only, I can give the proper answer. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So what kind of quotient I'll take here? What is the value of the quotient I'll take here? Whether same 3 I'll take, I write here 12.
It's -3.
Minus 3. Why -3? So if I take -3, it becomes -12. Now when I'm dividing, you see the second number here, is it a smaller number than this or bigger number than this? Obviously, it's supposed to be a smaller number, right? Now, in this case, what happened? It becomes a bigger number. So, can I do a subtraction here? Is it possible? I cannot do a subtraction here, right? Now, again, I'm writing it out. Now, tell me, what is the quotient I supposed to take? What?
-4, -4.
Yeah, -4. If I'm taking -4, it becomes -16, right? It becomes -16. And I want to do what? Minus on this. So it becomes plus. So what is the value I got? 1. So remainder become 1. Okay. Similarly, if I take, you can try -4 divided by -15 if you are taking. What value will be taking? Okay. You can try on this. You will get all these values. Okay. You will get minus, you will get this, all these values you will get. Okay. I hope I can go ahead, no? No issue?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now with our integer division also, if any of this operand is a floating point number, I'll be taking what? I'll be getting the result to be a floating point. And I am taking integer division only. Double slashes in a single slash gave me a result with decimal point, but a double slash does give me a result with only integer value. Okay. So this is the basic precedence of operator you are having. Okay. Now similarly, you can have relational operators also, less than, greater than, equal to, not equal to, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, all of them are there. So if x equal to 15, y equal to 10, so x is greater than equal to 25. Obviously, it returned me a false value. Similarly, I can have and or operation. So general basic truth table, you know. So whatever is if first value is true, second value is true, you can do or operation. So unless and until both of them are false, for all it will be true. Otherwise, it will be false. So these things already, I think you know it. Okay. Increment decrement operation is x equal to x plus 1. Instead of writing like that, I'll be writing what? I'll be writing x plus equal to 1. So this is the thing that I can use. Similarly, for decrement operator also, in place of writing x equal to x minus 4, I'll write x minus equal to 4. Okay. Now, bitwise operator, that should basically most of the students that I have seen having problem with bitwise operator. I'll explain it a little bit, in detail. Now let us say bitwise operator AND is given by AND operation. Okay. This AND symbol. I am writing 15 and 51. So what will be the result? It is saying 50. How it becomes 50, 50 and 51. Now let us try to represent it with the help of binary numbers. 50 is binary number is this one. 51 binary number is this one. Now I am doing AND operation. Both of the AND operation says what? When both of them are true, then only it will be true. Otherwise it is false. So this becomes 0, this becomes 1, this becomes 0, this 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. So what is this value? This value is same as 50. Okay. So this value is same as 50. So this is how I got 50 and 51 becomes 50. Similarly, OR operation, I'll get that 50 or 51 as 51. Okay. So the value it will be same like this. Fine. The same logic, if you understand the OR operation, then you can understand this bitwise OR operation also. Exclusive OR, what exclusive OR? When both of them are different, then only it becomes 1. The order is not important, but their value is supposed to be different. Now, wherever there is a different value, here it got 1 and rest of the things are 0. So, exclusive OR of 50 and 51 becomes 1. Okay. Now, complement. Complement of 50 becomes minus 51. How it became? Now you see this one, complement of 51, binary number. One's complement of 51 is this, one complement of 51. To that, if I'll add 1, it becomes 2 complement, kada? Isn't it? This has become 2 complement, and this value is nothing but minus 51. You see this? This is my 50. Okay, my 50, this is the binary value. And if I take complement of 50, I'm saying I'm changing the data 0 to 1, 1 to 0. So this is the value. Now this is same as minus 51. This is same as minus 51. So instead of writing this value as tilde 50, we are writing minus 51. Okay. Now this is also a very important operator, that is bitwise left shift. Now you see what it is saying, 50 less than 2, and it is giving me 200. How it is possible? Now let us see. 50's binary number is this one. When I am doing left shift, I'll be removing these 2 characters and shift whatever are left out with this part I got here. Okay. This part it got shifted left. This part got shifted left. And onto the right, I am writing whatever blank spaces here left out. I have written 2 zeros here. Okay. Fill the blank spaces with 0. So this becomes a left shift. And the binary value for this is the decimal value for this value is 200. Okay. Similarly, the right shift. So 12 right shift of 2 becomes 12. Now 50's binary number is this one. So similarly, I'll be right shifting. So these 2 values will be vanished. This part is left out. It is shifted right 2 steps. And in place of these blank spaces, I am writing 2 zeros. Okay. So this is the binary value for 12. Okay. So this is how I'll get bitwise left shift and bitwise right shift. Okay. So all together everything I'm having this operators. Apart from that, I'm having 2 different operators. That is a very important concept, identity operator. Let us say I'm taking x equal to this data 1, high and 2. Okay. And I'm writing x equal to y. Now when I'm trying to print x, it is printing the same value. And when I'm printing y, I'm getting the same value. Okay. But if I'm writing x double equal to, this is a logical operator, x values are equal to y's values, I'm getting true. But if I'm saying is x is y, that is also becoming true. Okay. So is basically is the identity operator. So now I'm writing the same program in a different way. X I'm getting the same data, y I'm getting the same data. Here I have assigned x equal to y equal to x. So the value of y is shifted to x. Okay. But in this case what I did, the same value I have taken and assigned it to x and y. But when I'm doing x is double equal to y, it gave me true. And when I'm saying x is y, it is returning me false. Why it is so? When I am doing y equal to x, whatever data is there with x is shifted to, it's saved with y. It means same memory location, one more variable y is pointing. Let us say this is my x. Okay. This is holding some data here. Okay. Then in place of y, I'm explaining this one. Okay. Y also I'll take one variable and it will point to the same memory location. And whatever the data it contains this value, y also contains the same value. But in this case, x, whatever value I'm having at a different location, y same value may be there at a different location. So X and Y, maybe they are containing the same value but at a different location. But when I am comparing with double equal to, their value remains same. But when I am saying is, it means they are not pointing to the same memory location. They are two different memory locations. That's why it resulted me false. Okay. Now, one more operator is there, which is there in Python only, that is in operator or membership operator. So, excuse me. In operators checks whether the value is available in a sequence, and not in checks it is not in this. It means I can check in this way, 5 in this sequence or 5 is not in this particular sequence. Okay. Now, if I am writing S in the string Srushti, so it will return me true because S is a part of this particular string. Anywhere it may be, but it's a part of it. Similarly, if I am writing 5 in this particular list, okay, 5 is in this particular list, so that's why it returned me. But when I am saying 10 in this particular list, 10 is not a part on this particular list, so it returned me false. So this is how there are two more operators that we learned. One is membership operator and one is what? Other one is identity operators. Okay. Now, basically, conditional statement returns me a true or false condition, and it will start with the if statement. Okay. So basically, the construct is like this: if condition, then a statement, then else condition, then a few statement. So basically, the flow chart goes like this. Okay. So if the statement is true, then it will follow one particular path, and if the condition is false, it will follow one particular path. But the important thing is, here colon must be there. After the condition, you must put some colon. After else also, you must put some colon. And there must be proper indentation. Till now, whatever program we have written or whatever we have discussed, there is a single line or a block of statement, but there is no you can say a sequence of statement, but not a block of statement. Here, whenever we are talking about a block of statement, then these statement must be what? Idented, properly idented. It means same number of space will be supposed to be given. Now you see here, if I'm writing if 8 is greater than 5, then colon symbol I have to give, and automatically after pressing enter, the cursor will start blinking from here, and I can start writing the print statement. Okay. Similarly, if I'll put my enter symbol at the end of right bracket, it will start blinking here. If I want to possibly start from here, I have to give a backspace or some other, arrow key to come start from here. And after colon, if I am putting a enter key, again, it will be properly indented, and it will be, I can start writing, and it will give me like this. But look at this. If I am writing without proper indentation, first one is properly space is given, but in this case, after colon space is not given, so it raised me an exception saying expected an indented block. After else, it's supposed to be properly indented. Okay, this is very important in Python because unlike C and C++, we don't have curly bracket to identify the block of statement. Okay, here in order to find a block of statement, it's supposed to be properly indented. Okay. Now you see here, there is a list. Hi, how are you? Are different, 4 different string in a list. We'll discuss about list after some time. Okay. Then you are asked to enter something, and if X, this particular input value, is in this particular list, then I'll say yes, otherwise I'll print no and print better luck next time. Now if I'm printing high here, then this particular statement got executed. This particular step of statement here within this if block, after the colon, only one statement is there. After the else statement, after the colon, there are two different statements are there. Okay. So when I'm printing here high, small one, here high is in capital, H is in capital. So here and here H is in small letter. So this high, small letter H and I is not a part of this particular list. As I have already told you that Python is case sensitive. So it didn't find the small high in this particular list. So it came to the else part, and because the if part returned me false. I mean so that's why it came to the else part and printed these two statement within the else block. Okay, it printed no and better luck next time. When multiple conditions are to be checked, we'll be using if, elif in place of elif, else if we need to write here elif. Okay. Now the statement generally goes like that. If this condition is true, then I'll do certain kind of work. If no, I'll take another check, another condition. And if it is true, I'll do certain kind of work. Otherwise, again, I can have some kind of check. So in place of that, generally in C, I'm having else if, but here I'll be writing elif. Okay, same structure. So if I'm having here, I'm taking two lists, list 1 and list 2. I'm asking it to enter something. If it is in list 1, then it is printing that it is in list 1. Otherwise, I'm checking whether it is the value that I have entered is in list 2. If it is in list 2, it is printing, or otherwise, else case, I'm printing that this value is not available in the list. Let us say high. I have printed high. High. So this high is a part of list 1. So it is saying it is a part of list 1. If I am writing M, M is a part of second list. So it is printing the else part, else if part. Okay. And if I'm typing 3, so 3 is not available. It means the condition failed here. If condition, then the condition failed here in else if condition, and it came to the else part and printed this. Similarly, there can be any number of example I can give. If a value is less than 50, then it is third division. If it is greater than 50 and less than 60, I can write second division. Otherwise, if it is not between, if it is not true here and if it is not true here, I am writing first division. Maybe there can be one more case of getting failed also. I can write that also, but I have not written here. Okay. So similarly, for different percentage, you can write this program for failed candidate. If somebody got less than 45% mark or 40% mark, got failed, that also you can incorporate in this particular code. Okay. Now I'm leaving a assignment for you. Whether you will be trying now or tomorrow, because already it is 5:45, 5:50, and I have not covered up to what extent I thought of. Okay. Now we'll be discussing something regarding looping structure. Okay. Looping already you know. When I'm interested in doing repeated things, then I'll be doing looping structure. Okay, there are two different looping structure available in Python, that is while loop and for loop. Let us discuss them one after another. Okay, so the condition first, the syntax will be like this: while, bracket is not that important here. Okay, while condition, then we will be having an expression here. Then I'll put a colon symbol, and whatever instruction after that I properly indented syntax I need to write. The colon and indentation is very, very important. And it goes like this: as long as it is true, it will be following the path, and when it becomes false, it will come out. Okay. Now let us say this small program, factorial equal to 1. When I'm saying I am taking a variable I equal to 1. So while I is less than equal to some value, so fact equal to fact into I. So as long as this condition is true, I'll be incrementing I by 1. I'll be calculating the value of the factorial. And at last, when the condition is false, I'll come out and print the value of the factorial. Look at this, the value of 30. In any other programming language, can you find the value of factorial 30? In C, I have checked that you can find factorial of 8. If you'll try to find the factorial of 9, it will raise an error. Okay, overflow. But you can see under Python, you can find factorial of 30 also. Okay. Similarly, let us take one more program with while loop. So what I'm doing, sum of numbers. If I is less than equal to my number, and if I is divided by 5, if it is 0, then I'll be summing it up, and otherwise I'll be incrementing I by 1. Okay, so it means when I'm summing it, when the number is divisible by 5. Okay, so under 300, those numbers which are divisible by 5, the sum of all those numbers are 9150. Okay. Similarly, for loop, you will be having these syntax: for a variable name, then the keyword in will be there, and a range. In the range, you will be having starting, increment, ending, and increment or decrement statement will be there, followed by a colon, and then whatever instructions you want to write, it's supposed to be properly identified. So the colon is important and indentation is important here also. So you know about the flow chart, how it goes with the for loop, right? Now, before going to talk about for loop, let me give you something regarding the keyword that I told you regarding range. Now, if I'm writing range of 10, it will be printing me 0 to 9. If I'm saying range of 1, 10, it will start with 1, end with 10. I mean, the last value will be always be -1. Okay. And as the third parameter is missing, so always it will take increment by 1. Similarly, if I'm taking 1, 10, and 2, so it means at a step of 2, 1 to 9, I want to print. Okay. Similarly, 0 to 10 to 0 with -1. So 0 is the second parameter, that is the last parameter. It means, so 0 should not be included. Okay, 0 should not be included. Always the second parameter is -1. Okay, so 10, 9, 8. So like that, with -1 decrement, it will be starting. Similarly, with decrement 2, I can write it like this. Okay, so 2 to 11 with increment 2, I can write it like this. -5 to 5, I have not given any increment, so increment 1 by default it took. Okay, so 1 to 1, same value to same value, it will not return me anything, it will be empty. Okay, so when I am saying starting with 1, go to -1 with decrement of -1, because -1 is the end value, and end value -1 supposed to be printed. So what? 1 and 0 got printed. Similarly, range of 1 and 2. 2 will not be getting printed. So only 1 got printed. Similarly, 1 to -1. Decrement value or increment value is not written. So it will return me an empty statement. Range of 0, 1 value becomes empty. Okay, now you see this. Now you tell me what will be the output. For I in range of 1 to 10. So it will start with 1, go up to 9. It will not include 10. Okay. So I am 1 to 9, I am getting the sum here. Okay. Obviously 45 only, because 1 to 10 is 55, right? Similarly, if I am taking the for loop here, 2 to 9. So I'll include 2 and I'll include line, but at the step of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8 will be there. So the sum of 2, 4, 6, 8 is 20. Fine. Similarly, I can take the range function 1 once more. That is 9 to 0 with step -2. 0, remember 0 is not included. So before 0, 1 is there. So 9 will be included, 7 will be included, 5 will be included, 3 will be included, and 1 will be included. And all those values I'm going to sum them up and I'm going to print it. Okay. So under this looping structure, one more keyword comes, two more keyword comes, that is what? Continue and break. Continue means I can skip. Okay, skip for the next one. Now, if this for this particular, I mean, it is available to both the for loop and while loop. If a condition is, I mean, true or something happens, I'll continue means I'll not do anything. I'll go for the next I value. Similarly, for this while condition also, if the condition is true, then I'll not do anything. I'll go for the next while value. Okay. Now let us check here for I in range of 5. Range of 5 means it will take from 0 to 4. Okay. And I equal to 3. When I value becomes 3, I'll be writing continue. It means 3 value 3 should not be getting printed. Okay. Similarly, here also for while I in range of 5, I'm printing I is getting incremented by 1. And if I is equal to 3, I'm writing continue. For both the programs, you will get the same output where 3 is not printed. Continue is there for the condition I equal to 3. Okay. Similarly, let us take one more example. Both the programs will give the same output. I am writing, I am learning Python, and the len functions give the length of the string. Okay. Whatever may be the length, I don't know. Okay. But wherever n will appear, it will not print and it will go to the next character to print. Okay. Now you see, I am LEAR, n is missing here. Okay. N is missing. PYTHO, n is missing here. Whenever n appeared, it didn't print it and it got to print the next character in the string. Okay. This is the work of continue. Okay. Similarly, I'm using a break statement. Whenever I want to terminate my looping structure under certain condition, I'll be using break statement. Okay. Now you see both the programs are same for I in range of 5. Range of 5 means 0 to 4. Whenever I becomes 3, I'll be coming out of the loop and I can print this thing. Otherwise, I'll be printing this. So what will the output? 0, 1 and 2. Whenever 3 appeared, it came out of the loop and again I'm printing out of the loop. Okay. 3 didn't print. Before printing 3 only, I encountered the break statement. So I come out of the loop. Come out of the loop means, again, look at the indentation. You see, this for loop started where and print started where. So after coming out the for loop, the same statement at the same line will be printed. Okay. Similarly, here also, whenever n will appear, it will come out. It means whenever the first n will appear. Okay. Whenever the first n will appear, means first n is appearing here. LEARN, learning, n. Okay. So this n, after the first n appeared, it came out of the loop. Okay. Now, I think the same slide, no? Yeah. One more statement is there, pass. Pass means no code. I need not write anything for that. If I'm not writing anything for that, I can write pass instead of this. Pass is having very important role in later on stages. We'll see that. Okay. So I'm not doing anything for I equal to 3 here. Earlier, I used to do like break or continue, but I have written here pass, not doing anything. So the print remains the same. Okay. I mean, I'm not interested write any code. So in place of writing any kind of code, I'll be writing pass. So whenever I'll be defining what a class or I'll be having a function. At that time, the past plays a very important role. Okay. So for nested loop also the same way I'll be writing. For I in range 1 to 10, 1 to 10 means 0 to 9 it will take, 10 it will not take. For j equal to 1 to 9, 10 it will not take. And I'm writing I plus j equal to the multiplication. Okay. And I'm writing here the multiplication table for I got completed after the first for loop. Okay. So it means the inner body contains this particular statement. For this outer body, this particular statement will be executed. Okay. Similarly, for while statement also the same way I can write. For this for loop and while loop, I can mix also, no issue. So for this for loop, this is the body, and for this while loop, these two statements are the body. Okay. I mean, apart from all this, under this while statement, of course, this statement comes, everything comes. But under this for loop, this particular, only this print statement will be executing. Okay. Now, can you try the program for prime numbers?
Business, bar business.
Okay.
Actually,
now
MBA Bangalore ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದ.
Can you mute yourself, ma? Okay, you can try writing the program to find a prime numbers between two given numbers. Okay. String is an inbuilt data type we are having. Okay. So string is any sequence of symbols, characters, numbers, anything. Okay. And the main thing about string is it's supposed to be immutable. It means I cannot alter, I cannot change the data, whatever are there. Okay. So I can write them with the help of a single quote or a double quote. So you can see here str1, I'm writing with double quote. I am learning Python. str2, I am writing this with single quote. Learning Python is fun. Okay. Now I am printing str1. I can get the output that I am learning Python. Now, if single or double quotes are there, then I can include, if my string contains, again, single in quotation or double quotation mark, then I can include them with triple quote. Okay. Now you see that here, I'm using a single quote here. Okay. So I got here, I can write them under triple quote. I already told you that triple quote is used for commenting, but for this purpose also you can write here. Whenever a special symbol of single quote or double quote is available, then you can print it in this way. Okay. So string 1 is here, single quote is there, and here a double quote is there. So you can see I'm writing print str1. So single quote M got printed, and here str2 within double quote, this string is printed. Okay. Same thing here also. If multiple lines are there also, I can use triple quotes. It is not always that my string constant will be within single quote. I mean within single line, but it can go up to 2 lines also. So whenever it goes for more than 1 line, you can use triple quotes instead of double quotes or single quotes. Okay. Now the same string variable I can use using triple quotes if it is going for more than 1 line. Now indexing is very important. I mean like if you have used a programming language like C, C++, the array kind of structure, arrays actually it is not inbuilt in Python. We need to import it, but then same concept I am going to use it. Okay. So if I want to access a particular data from left, it will be always the index supposed to be 0. But in Python, in other programming language, I don't have anything while I am traversing from right to left. Always I am restricted to traverse from left to right. But in Python, I am having a flexibility that I can traverse from right to left also. Whenever I am traversing from left to right, the index start with 0. But when I'm traversing from right to left, the index starts from -1. I'll show you what is it. Now, the string is hello, let us say, and when I'm using a positive index, H index will be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. If I want to print fourth index, it will print me O. But if I want to go in a reverse direction, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. So if I want to print -2, it will print me O. Okay. So in generally our C programming language, we never had a index which is negative. It's always supposed to be positive. Okay, because we are traversing from left to right only. But in Python, we are having both way traversing from left to right or right to left. Whenever I am traversing from left to right, I'll be using positive index. Whenever I am traversing from right to left, I'll be using negative index. Similarly, I'm having operation that is concatenation. Already I have told you regarding the print statement. I can use a plus statement, plus symbol for concatenating two strings. Let us say string 1 is I am learning Python. String 2 is learning Python is fun. Then if I am doing a plus operation, I can write it in this way. Similarly, I can write, I can assign a variable for this also, and I can print the same thing. Okay. Now, can somebody tell me str is 12 and no is 5? What will be the output here? I'm waiting for your response. Anybody can unmute yourself and give me the answer. I'm waiting for your response, please. str equal to 12 and number equal to 5. I want to
error.
print.
Error, sir.
Why it will be an error?
First one is in string and second one is an integer.
Yeah, very nice, very nice, very nice. So it will be an error. You cannot concate a string with an integer. Very nice. At least I can know that you are not sleeping. Thank you. Okay. Now, now repetition I can use with asterisk symbol. Now, if I'm writing Python str1 is Python, and I'm printing 3 into str1. So it means what? Python is repeated 3 times. Okay. So if I'm taking a variable, I can save it in a variable z also, and I can print. The same thing will be getting printed. Okay. Now, now can you can see that str is 12, and when I'm multiplying 5 with str, 12 is repeated 5 times. But when I'm taking a number and I'm multiplying 5, it is giving me 60. Okay. Now you can get the difference when I'm multiplying a number and when I'm multiplying a when I'm multiplying a string. Okay. String always will be repeating, but number will always be multiplying. Okay. I'm expecting an output. I'm checking whether you are sleeping or not. I'm taking an integer as an input, and for I equal to n1 to n plus 1, I'm writing str of I into I. What will be the output of this?
Sir, it will be 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, etc.
Yeah, yeah, because for the first value, the first value it will take is 1. It is starting with 1. Okay, and the I first value will be 1 only. So str of 1 is 1, and it is multiplied 1 time. The second value of I is 2. So str of 2 is 2. 2 is multiplied 2 times. Similarly, 3 is multiplied 3 times. So repetition will be there. Very nice. So I'm also having in string, we are having character encoding. So this is a list for let us say different characters I'm having. These are my alphabets I have written in this brown color, and the symbols always I'm having with what green colors, and this is the character encoding. Let us say here a less than equal to symbol is there. For that the character encoding is 60. For L the character encoding is 76. Okay. For that I'm having two different functions, that is ORD and CHR. Both of them are reverse of one another. So ORD of P getting 60, of A I am getting 97. Similarly, CHR of 54 I got 6, and CHR of 97 is A. Like ORD of A is 97, CHR of 97 is A. They are reverse of one another. Okay. There are a few more inbuilt function we are having. We cannot discuss everything here, but we'll take a few. Like first one is capitalize. So str1 dot capitalize. So it will make all the string into what? First alphabet. First look at this. I is small one. I is small I. But after making it capitalize, I becomes, it means first alphabet of a string becomes capital. Similarly, for lower, if it is in all in capital letters, it will convert it to small letters. Okay. Similarly, upper and title. If I'm having this particular string, I'm learning Python, I'm like writing str.upper, then the string will be converted to uppercase. Similarly, I'm learning Python is there, I'm writing str.title, then what will happen? Each and every alphabet of first alphabet of each and every word will convert it to capital letter. Okay. Similarly, I am having one more that is called replace. So I'm having I'm learning Python as a string one, and I want to replace wherever n appears, I want to replace with a space, 3 x's, and then one more space. So it will be written whenever n appeared, learning n appeared. So I got this thing. Again, ing, between I and G, there are 3 x's. After the last Python, in place of n also, 3 x's are replaced. Okay. Now, if I am taking one more parameter, let us say the same string is there, but in place of that n, comma, 3 x's, then comma 1. It means only the first appearance of n will be replaced with 3 x's. Okay. Similarly, I am having one more built-in function that is called split. So the same, what I'll get here, it will be converted, the string will be converted to a list, and each and every word is an item in the list. Okay. I'll say you what is a list. Possibly today we are running out of, already across the time. Are you interested in listening, or we'll wind up, because already it is 6.
Sir, I request you to, though I mean, I am personally enjoying your session, and I hope same for all the participants, but
okay.
It would be good if we wind it up on time.
Okay, so I mean already it is 6:10, just 6 o'clock.
Just
so another, this string will be covering and will be winding up. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You complete this topic, sir. Then we will wind up for today.
Okay. So this is what I mean. Every whenever there is a space in between, it is converted as a particular. Every word is an item in this particular list. Okay. Similarly, I can use list split of n. So whenever then n will appear, till that it will take one item. N is not taken into it. So I am learn up to that, that is one item. Then I becomes one item because n appeared next to it. N didn't come into picture, and G Python will be one more. I mean, last one is again n is there. In place of that, I'm getting a blank space. Okay. So in this way we are using. So there are many more built-in functions. We cannot discuss all of them in this particular class. Okay. So it will take a lot of time to discuss all these things. Fine. So today we are winding up. Sir Nishu sir,
Sir.
I'm winding up. Or
So-
if faculty, if anybody is having any question, they can ask me in the meantime.
Sir,
Or-
your email ID is already with all the participants. You are in
Okay.
the group as well, right?
Okay.
And what I request is most of the participants are requesting for your presentation. So as far as
Okay.
possible, sir, I request you to please share either with me and I'll share with them, or the way you feel like comfortable. Second thing, sir, you yourself are doing the recording at your end and I am doing at my end. So after this session, we will see how good it is, and then we will share this recording also with the participants on day-to-day basis, because on the basis of each day's content, they'll have to appear in the quiz on 30th. So it would be good if we share day-wise all the study material with them.
Sir, I have already sent you a mail or something that 4 PDF file where all the content are available. We can share all of them with
Okay, sir.
students right now, no issue.
Okay,
And
sir.
anyhow, videos are, I mean, yesterday we tried but didn't got the audio recording properly. But today we are trying, maybe we'll be getting all those things. Okay. And we can share them anyhow. And
So
these
thank
days-
you. I thank all the participants, and I hope you gain some confidence with working on Python. And I believe with the same momentum, tomorrow also Professor Rakesh sir will continue for another couple of hours. Thank you all the participants. The group is open for your comments and whatever you wish to share. Thank you, Professor Rakesh sir.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we are calling this meeting and this session off for today. Thanks all of you.
Okay.